Hi, it's Shannon Heaton, and for this season of the Tune of the Month, I shall continue to present and teach a tune. I'll bring in Matt Heaton for some harmonic perspective on the tune, and I'll give a little Irish Music Stories podcast style information about each tune. Glad you're here, and welcome to the Tune of the Month. Thanks for joining me, Matt.
Thank you for having me, Shannon.
And what is the tune this month?
It will be George White's favorite. We're going to play it one time and then break it down.
All right. One. Okay, I have now fixed the window shade that was bugging me. So hopefully it looks better for you out there learning this tune with us. Before we break this down phrase by phrase, I wanted to give you a little backstory, a little bit of the bigger story behind George White's favorite. In the newest episode of Irish Music Stories, the show about traditional music and the bigger stories behind it, I focused a bit on the piccolo. That's the instrument New York musician George White chose. And in the early part of the 20th century, when large ensembles were the norm and amplification wasn't common, the piccolo would have been a particularly audible choice. George White played for dances and radio shows, and he became associated with this tune, George White's favorite. Played here by Tomoaki Hatakeyama, aka Hatao. He's based in Osaka. George White may have written this beloved reel, George White's favorite, or it might have been written by Sligo fiddle player Paddy Sweeney, who was the first guy to record the tune in 1934. Or maybe John McGraw wrote it in the early 20s. That's what his nephew Vincent said. But it's not definitive. And this is the deal with a lot of tunes that have become part of the trad repertoire for at least 100 years. The origins and the names are often forgotten or confused. Well, I've always known this tune as George White's favorite. And that's also what Brendan Mulholland calls it.
I'm going to play a tune called George White's Favorite.
Brendan's a great flute player up in Antrim, and he's collected several different flutes, smaller fifes and instruments pitched up in F, and bigger lower flutes, like B flat. We played a bit of George White's together on the two instruments. George White's favorite is a well-known tune. But George White the guy, kind of elusive. When I went digging to find more information about him, I found precious little. There's no birthplace on record. Though he was really tight with fiddle player James Clark and melodeon player Frank Quinn, they were both from Longford, so maybe George White came from Longford. He played with those guys on the weekly Smiles and Tears of Erin, a radio program which ran on WHOM and then moved to WLWL. George ended up marrying the piano player from the gig, Eileen Burke, who was from Liverpool, and then right before Christmas 1934, George teamed up with Jim Clark to open Clark and White's Bar and Restaurant at 42 West 60th Street in Manhattan. They hired Paddy Sweeney, the guy who'd first recorded George White's favorite, to be the club's music director. Clark and White's was a few blocks north of the Hell's Kitchen area of Manhattan. The club was a swingin' spot. It was a real hotspot for musicians who were recording Irish music for Columbia and Decca Records. I'll bet George White's favorite was played a number of times there. Well, when the restaurant closed, the land was owned and operated by the railroad company until Donald Trump purchased the rights to the property in the 1970s. It entered bankruptcy in the late 80s, and after filing for corporate bankruptcy and avoiding personal bankruptcy, the guy sold the developing rights to investors from Hong Kong. I guess he kept a 30% stake. It's now controlled by other development groups, but that guy still retains a 30% ownership stake in the project. Excessive wealth and excessive use or abuse of legal safeguards to protect personal assets feels greedy and unfair. Really, it's a bit grim, and it's pretty dark. Fortunately, the piccolo is cheerful, and so is George White's favorite. So let's get back to learning the tune. Well, we've no piccolos here, but we do have a flute.
And a guitar. And a metronome.
So we're going to use the metronome as we explore the architecture of this tune. How is this tune constructed? I'm going to give you one phrase at a time for easy learning, but first we're going to talk about the big picture. How does this all go together?
So there's the first phrase, kind of announcing the tune. The second phrase kind of answers the first phrase, but does not actually resolve. It's not a good end. Third phrase, the same as the first, not at all an uncommon thing that happens in Irish music. And the fourth phrase comes in and takes it all home.
To G. Okay, so here it is, phrase by phrase. I'll play a phrase and give you just enough time to play it back. And if that feels elusive, sing it back. Diddly-dum. You've mastered the A part. Now we're on to the B part. How is the B part constructed?
Starts out much higher. Again, kind of leaving it up in the air. That third phrase is not the same as the first phrase. And then the fourth phrase, another nice finish. In this second part, it feels like the third and fourth phrase really go together. They don't have the sort of like pause that the first and second phrase have.
Nice.
Shall we?
Metronome.
Yeah, I'm going to do my work here. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Here we go. So, while it is kind of silly, this back and forth, really trying to underscore the fact that these tunes are made up of phrases, just phrase by phrase. If you feel overwhelmed to learn a whole tune, learn just one 2-bar phrase and then on to the next. And if that feels overwhelming, just learn to sing the 1 2-bar phrase. You'll eventually be able to put it on your instrument quite easily. Once you know it in your head, you'll be able to find it on the instruments. Okay, this music is a melodic tradition. The melodies work all by themselves. They don't need accompaniment. And even when you're playing them without any chordal instruments, these harmonies are kind of inherent, are kind of suggested by the melody shapes.
Right. So you might find different guitar players with very different ideas of what the chords should be. And there's often more than one solution to what the chord should be. And I'm going to give you my solution to what the chord should be. But it's not the, know all and be all.
And you're in standard tuning.
I am in standard tuning. So I'll just read them out as we go. So E minor is the first.
1, 2.
E minor, D, G, D over F sharp, E minor, D, G, C, D, G. So the tune starts on E minor but resolves to G.
Nice and clean. Could you start on a C chord?
Let's find out.
C is kind of cool if then you did a D after it. Ready, go. Okay, options in life. On to the B part. 1, 2.
G, D grav sharp, G, C, D, G, E minor, C, D, G.
Again, nice clean way to spell out what the melody is doing. Many other options abound.
Yes.
That's one. Well, thanks for joining us for this exploration of how George White's is constructed, of how those individual phrases go.
Some ideas about some chordal possibilities.
And a little bit of backstory about the tune and the player associated with it. I think it's time to put it all together.
It definitely is.
So, we'll try it once around. I'll try to stick to the way that I taught it to us. And then the second time around, maybe we take some chances. I'll do some melodic variation.
Might do some different chords. We'll see what happens.
Hope you enjoy it. Hope to see you here next month at the Tune of the Month.